Hello and welcome to the final lesson in module number 1. This is lesson number 5 on how to make your first $1,000 selling on eBay. And that is, how much can I make? So in this lesson, we're going to be talking about eBay fees and potential profits. First off, if you go in without a goal, you're really not going to have anything to compare yourself to know whether or not you're achieving anything. So we need to figure out what success looks like for you. Do you want some extra spending money? Do you want money to pay for your mortgage? Is this just something for you to do for fun because you like it? Because that's fine too. But if you have a goal to make money, we want to be a little more specific. I use something, you've likely heard of it, it's called SMART goals. A SMART goal is something that is specific, right? It can't be vague. It needs to be measurable. We need to be able to measure that outcome. So money is a good one because we can measure money. A means achievable. It can't be so far out of the realm of possibility that we get demotivated by it, right? So that's why the goal for this course is to make your first $1,000 on eBay. That is something that's very achievable. R is something that's relevant to you. You need to care about this. Why do you want to be successful? Maybe your goal to make $1,000 is so that you can pay off a credit card. Or maybe it's because you have a trip coming up and you want some extra spending money for that. But your goals should be relevant to you and important to you. They should also be time bound. So if you say, okay, well, I'm going to make my first $1,000 on eBay. Okay, well, that's great. But in how long? We want you to make your first $1,000 in 90 days. So that's your goal. You also need to realize that your output depends on your input because your success is really dependent on how much time you can consistently dedicate to this. Because I know we're all busy, right? We have families, we have other responsibilities, maybe we have a job, maybe we have kids, and they take time. We need to make sure that we're picking a certain amount of hours per week to do this for, and we're staying consistent there. Your output will also depend on what kind of items you're reselling. So some items sell really quickly and maybe you'll make very little, and some items sell a little bit slower and you'll make more. And so what you're selling will really affect how much you're making. Some people want to sell a lot of things and make a little bit on each item. Some people want to sell not as many things and make a lot on those items. And then there's other people who do a mix of the two. To start with, we're not going to be specific, right? We're going to be looking for things that we can resell, at least that we can double our money on. But once you have this business established, how much money you make really depends on what your strategy is. And then how much can you invest? So I know I said you don't need a lot of money, which is true. You do not need a lot of money to get started. It does cost money to buy inventory. So if we're buying, let's say we want to buy something for $200 to resell for $500, that might not sell right away, right? And if that was our only $200 for this reselling business, we can't buy anything else until that item sells or until we have more money, right? So you can start with a little, but the more you can spend on this, the more successful you'll be. In saying that, you can still find really good deals, right? We can still find great deals where you're spending $4 or $5 and making 70, 80 bucks. But over time, if you can buy those bigger items, you can make a lot more. I also want to talk about keeping track of things. So it's important for you to keep track for a couple different reasons. One is you need to know where you're at and how you're doing. It's pretty impossible to know how much you're making if you're not keeping track of how much you're buying things for, how much your expenses are like gas. So you need to keep track of those things. You also need to keep track of that for tax time. This is taxable income and you need to claim it on your taxes. Whether or not you do that is up to you, but legally, you need to do that. An important part of keeping track of things is having a logbook. This can be something simple. It could just be a notebook. But really what we want to keep track of is inventory that we're buying and how much we're buying it for, and ideally the date that we bought it. So that'll help you keep track of how long things are sitting in your inventory before they get listed. And if you're not keeping track of how much you're buying things for, guaranteed by the end of the summer, you're going to forget. So do not trick yourself. By the time this course is released, I'm planning on having a tracking book that you can buy. It's an exact copy of the one that I use to track all my inventory. You also want to keep track of your receipts. There's expenses involved with this business. Things like buying boxes to ship in, buying tape, buying paper, ink for your printer. All of those expenses will be deducted from your revenue when you're figuring out your profit. You can also choose if you'd like to have a separate bank account. You do not need to do this, but it does help definitely when it comes to tax time, because it's very confusing to go through your account if it has personal and business transactions and to try to figure out which is which. You can also keep your expenses separate by dedicating one credit card specifically to the business. If you have multiple credit cards, this is a really good way to do things because at the end of the year, you can just download all of those credit card statements and you'll have all of your business expenses in one place. And my final note on tracking is that there's lots of software to track eBay inventory and lots of software for bookkeeping. But for the purpose of keeping this simple, especially until you know whether or not you're going to like this, we're going to start an Excel spreadsheet and you can use that for a couple different things. But one, you can use it to track your inventory, and two, you can use it to track your expenses through the year, which is good enough. You don't need anything crazy. And last thing we're going to talk about in module 1, lesson 5 is eBay fees. Yes, eBay charges to use their platform, and it is very worth it. Picture an eBay fee as the cost of doing business. You are basically selling an item on a large marketplace. How much of a fee eBay takes depends on a couple different things. It depends on what you're selling. It depends on how long you've been selling on eBay and if you're a top seller. The general rule of thumb is eBay will take 12 to 15% of the actual sale of the item plus the shipping. eBay has the option for you to pay to promote an item, and you get to choose what percentage of the sale that you will use towards that promotion. For example, I can choose to promote at 3%, meaning that eBay will show that listing to more people. And when it sells, eBay is going to take 3% of that sale price and deduct that for promotion fees. You can also pay to have a store subscription and your eBay fees will become lower. So let's do a quick example. So if I am at a garage sale and I see something for sale for $10 and I go through the sold comps on eBay and it looks like it'll sell for $100, how much money am I going to make? So how I figure this out is I'll take the $100 sale price and I'll deduct, usually for me, 15% from that sale. You can use 20% if you want to be more comfortable, but for me, I use 15%. And then I also deduct the cost of that item. So from that $100 sale, there's going to be $15 deducted to eBay. And so I'm going to get around $85 from eBay, and then I'm going to pay myself back for the amount that I spent on that item. But the overall message here is that you do not want to fear fees. Fees are just part of doing business. The positive side definitely outweighs the negative side, and they get access to such a pool of buyers on eBay. And with that, we've made it to the end of module 1, lesson 5, which concludes module 1. So give yourself a pat on the back for making it here. I know that everybody has lots of things to do, and the fact that you decided to take the time to do this and you're still here and going through it, pat on the back. So with that, we will see you in module 2. And module 2 is all about where to find inventory. So super excited. I'll see you over there.